Hey there. So welcome to this talk in the Thriving Farmers Summit. And we're going to learn in this session all about farmers markets. And here to help us with that is Erika Tebbens. Erika, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me, Michael.
Yeah, so Erika, give us a little bit of background. Why are you involved in farmers markets?
Yeah, so I actually never imagined that I would be somebody who is an expert at farmers market selling. My background originally was in corporate retail, so large multi-million dollar a year corporate retail. And then basically the Navy moved us from Washington State to New York State. And I ended up working for you, Michael. And I just started as a regular Saturday market worker. My whole goal was I, my son was 4 at the time. I didn't want to go back to corporate retail because that schedule is just a nightmare.
Mhm.
And so I was just really looking for some part-time work. And I really fell in love with it. So what I ended up doing in the course of working for you and selling for your farm was I realized that I had these skills from corporate retail that I could move over to the farmer's market that would actually grow your retail business, your revenue from the farmer's market. And then things just kind of took off from there. And then now over the years, now I do business consulting for other people's businesses to help them with revenue growth and to hit their goals. But now, you and I are back together and we're working with farmers market vendors to teach them what you and I sort of perfected over the years of working together.
Yeah, and one of the cool things is that when you were in corporate retail, they were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars teaching you these really expensive things that they're doing millions of dollars of research in the retail world because this is massive business to get people to buy just that one more thing. And so what you did is you took that and brought it into our business. And what you did was double our farmers market sales. Obviously, we had to be able to produce the product, but you were out there just selling it like crazy. And not only sold the product, but built a team around it, which reduced the stress on me substantially so we could really enjoy the farm again and didn't have to stress out about scheduling the people or getting stressed out about setting up the farmer's market, all that. So it was a much simpler, much easier sales avenue for us.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I'm glad you mentioned the point about corporate retail is spending all this money and everything. Like they really do, that is their bread and butter. Like they can make products for cheap nowadays. So what they really have to do is market it and sell it. And they really push that hard. They do tons of research and spend, millions and billions of dollars on marketing and training their people on how to sell. And what I realized, and I still realize it working with our students, is that a lot of times, like I know your summit is going to be so helpful for people on the production end of things, but people focus so heavily on production and then they forget they have to sell it. And if you can't sell it, it doesn't matter how much you produce. If you can't move it, you will not have long-term success. So I am a big believer in local food systems and helping farmers and producers. And so I really want to be able to take all of that stuff that I learned from the corporate world and that I was trained in and that I trained my team in as a leader and a manager and bring it over to the world of farming so that farmers can actually see that revenue success and, like you said, actually enjoy their life, have some time that they're not working, where they can actually enjoy the fruits of their labor, so to speak.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Erika, let's go ahead and dive right into what you got to teach people today.
Yeah. So I'm really excited to explain the core fundamentals of what we do. So my business now, if you look for me online, you can find me at erikatebbens.com or Erika Tebbens Consulting. So I do business growth strategy. I basically strategize people's sales. So we create revenue growth plans, and not just a revenue growth plan, but a plan that people can actually implement and feel confident implementing. And also we build it around goals that really support you and your overall life, because my aim is to essentially show people how they can reach their goals without having to work 24/7, because it doesn't matter how much money you're making. If you can't enjoy your life, then, what's the point really?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a retail expert, I'm a leader, and I'm also a speaker. So I have worked, like I said, I ran a $6 million store for a large, well-known corporate retail clothing company. I had a staff of over 40 people. Before we moved with the Navy, we were actually in the process of opening a secondary location. So I was running my one store. I was preparing for the opening of a new store. I was hiring, I was training, I was merchandising, all of this stuff. And then we moved across the country, and that was when I used those corporate retail skills to help Kilpatrick Family Farms. So we increased sales, we streamlined our systems, and had a lot of great results from that. And by the time that I was finished working for Michael, I was actually the market stand manager. So I was hiring, training, doing all the staff scheduling for both of our farmers markets and year round. And I'm also a huge believer that everyone can learn how to sell without feeling sleazy. I think there's a lot of misconceptions and bad examples out there of sales and marketing gone wrong, but selling and marketing can actually be as simple and fun as just a regular conversation with somebody. And when you sell like that, it feels really good both for you and the person on the receiving end too. So, and all of this to say, like, we're going to dive a little bit into raving fans later in this, but I am a huge proponent of utilizing amazing customer service to build raving fans that actually will bring more people right to you. So Michael and I, and what we're going to talk about today, we distilled pretty much everything we knew into 4 main components. But before we can dive into them, I want to talk about some myths. So let's cover some myths that you might be believing right now in your farmers market business, or as you prepare for farmers markets. So it's important that we bust these farmers market myths first, whether you're already at market or you're thinking about selling at market, because believing these things and buying into them can absolutely hold back your success, your future success and revenue growth if you're selling through those channels. So just because these are pervasive does not mean that they are true. So these are farmers markets are dead. You have to sell lots of different products to make money. You have to beat the competition on price in order to be successful. If I just put it on the table, people will buy it, and people already know how to use my products. So these 5 things are just not true. So we're going to tackle them one by one. So first, farmers markets are dead. This is just not true. Farmers are still reporting amazing revenue results week after week, and some are even hitting 5 figures in a single day. So yes, the market that is closest to you might not actually be the best market that you should be selling at, but that doesn't mean that on the whole, people aren't making money from farmers markets, because they absolutely are. So that's one. We can wipe that from our minds. Now,
yeah, because Erika, when we started our farm, the little curb market that was literally 3 minutes from our door, we lost money at. Some days the market stall fee was $5 and we made $4 at that market. So we were incredibly overwhelmed, incredibly burnt out, and incredibly just dissatisfied, and thought farmers markets were dead. And that was back in the heyday of them, the heyday, because again, they're still doing great. And I think people think that, but all it took was us traveling 35, 40 minutes to a good market, and instantly we were doing $500, $800, $1,000 days.
Yeah. And I know that one of the things that we put in our course to help people was an actual calculator, so they can analyze for themselves which market would be the best. And we've seen, I know you've seen, and probably some of the the people going through the summit, where it's just worth it to make that full day trip 3 hours away. You know, it's not ideal, but if it means double or triple your sales, some of our students, we've already seen they've switched markets and then doubled their sales. So
Absolutely.
You just got to find the right farmer's market. So myth number 2 is that you have to sell lots of different products to make money. And that's just not accurate. This is especially true for produce growers, right? So many producers focus on selling just a few exceptional products. So right here, we have Carrie of the Looney Farm, who really became known in her area for high quality greens. Now, she grows other veggies, but that was really how she made a name for herself in a crowded market. So this allowed her to stand out and create raving fans that wanted those greens week after week. So people began to trust her, know, like, and trust her. And then as she was able to bring new crops to market, then they would spend more money with her. But by getting this name for herself, it actually allowed her to get into some local restaurants. It allowed her to move into the premier farmers market in her area that people have a hard time getting into. And it was all because she focused on a simple, inexpensive crop, and she did it exceptionally well.
And she provided recipes and support all around that crop as well, too. So it wasn't just like, here's some lettuce. There was recipes on lettuce. There was how to use it. There was the best ways to store it. There was excitement around that.
So that's myth number 2. Myth number 3, this is what I like to think of as like the Walmart myth, right? You have to beat the competition on price. So yes, it works for Walmart because they've created their whole brand around it, and they have the purchasing power to command low prices from the businesses that they're purchasing wholesale from up front. But this is going to hurt your farm. So when I worked with Michael, we were usually the highest priced at market, and we would still sell out. So the key is not to try to undercut the competition. The key is to bring a high quality product and then really sell it incredibly well to people, give amazing value to your customers, turn them into raving fans, give them an overall experience that they feel is valuable. They will be happy to pay more for it time and time again. So that was number 3. Now number 4 is, if I just put this stuff on the table, people will buy it. That's not true. This is where my corporate retail background really helped. So Michael's farm they were already doing a lot of this well when I started, but there are practices and principles in visual merchandising that actually encourage people to buy and to buy more. So how we tend to buy as humans is we scan a horizon and we mentally make split-second decisions. So what you need to do instead is display your products in a way that is very professional, because this will actually encourage people to want to buy before you even have to have a conversation with them. So there is sort of a method to the madness when it comes to visual merchandising. And it's really, really important to be very intentional about how you want to set up your display so that it really pulls people in and converts them, rather than just, having that blank table with no tablecloth, things plunked down. It's not going to do it for you because it doesn't command that sense of value when you do it that way.
Yeah, and one pet peeve is please, please, please keep the produce clean and the table clean.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we see it time and again, and I know the reasoning is like, well, it's just my old table. Like, who cares? It's my folding table. I'm not here to look like Macy's. Like, I'm here to sell produce. People are going to go home and they're going to wash it anyways. Like, yes, all of those things might be 100% accurate, but you are going to be able to stand out from the competition when you look like you really know what you're doing and your stuff looks incredibly appealing and valuable, because then, again, that is how you command those higher prices as well. And lastly, that people already know how to use my products. No, because you're the expert of what you sell, not your customers. So you might think, oh my gosh, it's a tomato. Everyone knows how to use a tomato. Well, okay, people know you can make a BLT and you can put them on a salad and whatever, but do they know how else they can use them? What if they don't feel like having more salad that week? What if they don't feel like having BLTs that week? What about a tomato pie or like a panzanella salad or something like that? So educating the consumer goes a long way. And this can be, for stuff that's more than just veggies. But this is why Michael and I are big proponents of having recipe cards. Like we mentioned with Carrie, the more reasons you can give people to want to buy what you have, the more they will actually buy what you have. So don't assume you can put out recipe cards. I know in our course, we give people tons of templates for recipe cards that they could just pop their farm branding in and then hand them out. Here is a picture of, we also had at our CSA table, a bunch of seasonal cookbooks. Like the more you can empower people, the more it will translate into sales for you.
Absolutely. And a case in point on that, Erika, I was at the farmer's market Saturday, walked in, was drawn over to a display of mushrooms that was beautiful. The reason I purchased is the guy pulled up his bag that was specially designed to make them store extra long in the fridge, as well as the bag had 3 recipes on the back, so I didn't feel like I didn't know what to do with them. Because that's the one thing about fresh mushrooms is you're like, I'm not quite sure what to do with these. But because he said, oh, they'll last for 2 weeks in the fridge, and here's 3 recipes, I immediately felt empowered, and I bought.
Yeah. So, even with the lettuce, it might seem like, oh my gosh, really it's lettuce. Like, what are you gonna do? But there's different varieties of lettuce. Again, like you mentioned earlier, tips for storing, all of that. An empowered consumer is a happy consumer. So now that we've kicked those myths to the compost pile, we're going to talk about the 4 essentials of market selling that you absolutely need if you want long-term success. So these are the 4 pillars that we have compiled into our program. And these are the 4 things that we realized when we really stepped back and tried to analyze, what was it that made us different? What was it that made us stand out from the competition? Because we had other vendors at our markets that grew great produce as well, but we still did phenomenal business. And so we distilled it down to these 4 things. So the first is attract. So you want to get the right people to notice you. The second is convert. So you're going to turn those people that you've attracted into paying customers. Third is to build. So you're going to get systems in place that allow you to grow. Because again, if you can't grow, if you are always trading your personal hours and energy for money for growth, it's going to be a long, hard, stressful, exhausting road. And lastly, scale. So this is where you start to leverage your current customers so that you can expand even more. So first up, attract. So before people can buy your products, you have to get them in front of them, right? So people cannot know they can't buy what they don't know exists. So this is where marketing comes in. And a lot of times, especially for smaller businesses, we think, well, I don't need marketing. I'm not a huge corporation, but that is not true. If you are in business, you need to think of marketing, because marketing, all it is just a way for people to know that you exist. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. It's just building brand awareness, right? Then you want to create your funnel or your customer journey. So these are things like, where can people buy from you? How will they know what you have? And then what comes next? So for instance, one of the things that we work on with our students is we talk about what happens if your farmer's market suddenly went away. What if they couldn't use that space that they use? Their permits got revoked, right? All of a sudden you count on this space, now it's not there. Or what if they are changing things around and they don't let you back in next season? We've seen it happen with amazing vendors where suddenly they just don't get let back in. Or what if you're like, you know what? I don't want to make this 3-hour trip each way every single week. I want to eventually have this be something else. This is where you need to create that funnel in your customer journey. You can actually leverage the farmer's market as a way to attract the right people to you. And then you can think of other things you can sell them into and other ways to keep connecting with them on a regular basis, and other reasons for them to want to tell their friends and involve them in what you're doing as well. Next, you need to create your story. So people buy stories. If you think about any brands that you love to shop from, there's probably some compelling story around that brand that you really resonate with. It doesn't have to be something hokey. It doesn't have to be a rags to riches. It could just be something that you really feel connected to. So you like spending money with that brand. So it's good to think of, who are you at your core? Who do you serve and how do you help them? So what at your core essence of your business is going to set you apart from the other people who have the same products as you? You need to think of that, and then you need to convey it to them so that people can buy into your story and want to become part of your community. And then you have to create your marketing assets, right? So you've done all this brainstorming on the back end. Now it's time to create your assets. So these are things that are going to make sure people remember who you are so they can come back. So one of them, it's one we've mentioned multiple times already, is recipe cards. So if you have your whole branding, you can have your little tagline or your brief story, whatever it is. You can put that right on a recipe card, and then that person brings it home, and then they stick it on their fridge. And every time they see it, they think of you. It's not just a generic recipe card. It's one that says to them, oh yeah, gosh, that farm was so great. I love them. We should go back. I really love this recipe. That was really wonderful. They gave it to us for free. That's really cool that they, are, second generation organic farmers in our local area. Let's go back. Let's support them. That's how you start to attract the right people to you through thoughtful marketing. Next, you want to convert them. So you can still make sales without having a conversion plan. But if you sell smarter, you can actually skyrocket your sales. So like we already mentioned, make your display do most of the work. So a lot of times people get into farming because they're introverts, right? They don't want to do a lot of peopling, as you say. So a lot of times people say going to market, it's so hard. You have to interact with so many people. Well, what if you made your display do part of the work for you? What if you had a really beautiful display that drew people in? So they were already captivated. They're already excited to see what you have and to give you money because you stand out so much from your peers, right? So there are, again, ways to just really make your stand pop. Then once they're in, you want to customer service the heck out of them. So the more that, you can think about it in your own life too. Places where you love to spend money, places where you love to go back and spend money, where you tell your friends to go and spend money, chances are they have amazing customer service. So, don't just be sitting there on your phone, hoping you don't have to talk to anyone, right? Because that's not really going to enhance an overall customer service feeling. You want to really make sure you are serving people and fulfilling their needs. Next, people love a good promo. So what we want you to do, what I really want to encourage you to do is, instead of thinking in terms of how we often think of promotions, which is discounting something as a way to encourage people to buy, I want you at the next market you're at to think of a promotion that actually encourages people to buy more. So this could be something where, they still save money, but they only save money if they buy 2 of something or 3 of something. Usually you don't want to go more than, 3 for something, because then it's not as effective. But do something that actually encourages people to buy more and let people know what that promotion is. And then allow people to try before they buy. So if you're able to sample or showcase any items for people, that really helps convert sales. Because when people experience something, they tend to want more of it. So that is part 2.
Yeah, Erika, talk to us a little bit about what were some of the promos that we used to run at our stand all the time that were really effective?
Yeah, so I know for us, especially in peak season when we had a lot of greens, we would often do salad mix at $3.50 per bag, or I'm sorry, $4 per bag, or 2 for $7. So it would be $3.50 each. So they would save a little bit of money per bag if they bought 2. Now, because we were attracting usually a lot of families, then we would have a lot of people, or people who were conscientious eaters. So even a couple, because we had a high quality product that would last most of the week, even a couple could utilize, if they're eating salads every day, 2 bags of greens, because they would stay good for about at least 5 days. So we would say, if we saw somebody getting greens or looking at the greens, hey, just so you know, if you buy 2 bags, it actually saves you some money overall. We would do this with other things too, radish bunches, or sometimes root crops, or anything that we really, like, you're not going to want to do it on things that are going to sell on their own. So strawberries, we're not promoting those ever, because people are buying them full price. They're happy to do it. We're selling out. But greens, like, that's not something, you can't hold over greens from one Saturday market to another Saturday market. It's not going to happen. So for something like that, you want to move them. You want the volume gone. But you have to let people know, because even if you have it signed, and you should have good signage, but sometimes people will still forget. So if people have come up and they're getting that thing, and you say, oh, did you see that they're on promo? Most of the time, people will say, oh, no, I didn't even notice. Then you can say, if you want another bag, then each of them becomes $3.50 instead of $4.
And you save $1. Tell them you save $1.
Yeah, tell them what they're going to save. Tell them what they're getting out of it. So, hey, if you get another bag, or I can go grab you another bag, then you'll save $1. Can I get that for you? Or do you want me to go grab it? Or however you want to say that. Because most of the time, people, when they hear save $1, will go, oh my gosh, yeah, you know what? That would be wonderful. And then they're actually appreciative of you. It's not pushy. Now you have given them something more, and you are helping them save money. So they're actually happy to be spending more with you. It sounds counterintuitive, but I promise it works.
Yes. And Erika, we've had our students do this with fabulous results. I just last week we saw one in there. I think was it Laura or one of the ones in there was just talking about how they sold so much more on their jam at one of these holiday markets just because they were using that technique and clarifying some of their signage.
Yeah, because, we think like, oh, well, people will just see it. They'll see the little card there, whatever, but they just don't. And truly, like, we, even from our challenge and from our students in the course, like, time and again, people will say, oh, that phrase, just so you know, followed by whatever the promo is. And again, using a good promo that's going to move product and not undercut your revenue. It works every time. It's such a game changer. If you do that one thing, I promise you will make more money.
Yeah.
So third, you're going to build. So this is kind of like the heaviest, meatiest part of our whole program, our whole formula here. But it's worth doing. It's worth spending time on, because this is where you really start to tip the scales. This is where, when you're in it for the long run, you are gonna start seeing magic happen with your revenue. So having the right systems and support in place is what will allow you to really build incrementally your revenue and actually allow you to take time off. So again, we'll say it, research your local market. Don't just pick the closest, pick the one that's going to work best for you. We actually had a student before who was doing 3 tiny markets a week. They asked in the group, what should I do? There's this other market. We suggested, try that other market. they got rid of the other 3. They were making more at just the 1, right? So now they have 3 other days that they're home that they can either rest, they can do other things on the farm, whatever they need to do. And it's worth it to go to that one larger market. So also make getting to market and setting up simple. So you have to think in terms of the long term. Reliable vehicle with enough room is going to save frustrations. If you have a simple setup that can be done by anyone, what if you're sick and somebody needs to take over? You have to have a simple setup that is tracked in some way, that's so it can, the instructions could be handed off to somebody and they can do it for you. And also there are really easy ways that you could just shift things right now without spending any more money that are going to streamline how you do setup and breakdown to actually save you a lot of time and energy at market. Then hire and train effectively. So there will be a point if you are growing that you need to bring people in. So it's really important that you hire and train effectively. So you want to get people on your team who are going to multiply your efforts. So this is how, when I was managing the markets and our market staff and our merchandising and all of that, it was worth it for Michael to pay me so that he could focus on what he does best. And then know that I am responsible for this other arena and this is what I do best. Because when we are each doing what we do best, it created overall growth. And lastly, keep really good records to track your business. This is not the most fun thing in the world, but it's essential. So even simple things like what the weather was, if there was, events going on that may have impacted your market day, anything else, you won't remember it next year. So keep a log. There's so many technological ways you can do this now. Keep a log of everything possible that you can, because this again will give you a baseline to build off of in the future. And lastly, this is where the raving fans come in. You're going to scale and you're not going to have to do it with any complex systems or anything like that, right? So how you do this actually starts back when you're doing attract and convert. So like I said, customer service. So give a lot of value and go the extra mile. So provide the recipes, notify people of specials and events, do what other people don't do. So have a weekly newsletter. Tell people what your promos are. Tell people about, if you have events going on, if you have a local farm to table dinner night that you're doing, get your people involved. Then incentivize them and get them to share. So you can create a reward system. You can have branded merchandise, like swag, we call it. You can encourage testimonials and referrals, all of that. You want your people who love you to talk about you with other people. Collaborate with others to mutually benefit. So this could be other local vendors. So if you're doing sampling, maybe you have a dip that you've made from some of your produce, and there's another vendor that sells crackers. See if you can partner up and kind of share the love between you. Local restaurants, shops, if you have food bloggers or writers, anything like that, the more that you can collaborate with others to spread the word, the bigger your reach will be. And then build community around your farm. So you can do on or off farm events to deepen and expand client relationships. So just a real quick example of this would be, let's say you have somebody who is coming to your farmer's market. She comes, maybe she's, doesn't often come. She's like, I want to start going to the farmer's market. So she sees your stand, she gets your produce, she gets that recipe card. You were such a joy to work, during the transaction. You gave her that promo, you did all of that stuff. And she's like, wow, that was really awesome. So she goes home, and then her friend is over, maybe for a play date with their kids. And she's serving up that, let's just say it's radishes, right? oh my gosh, these are really good radishes. Yeah. I got them from such and such farm. And oh my gosh, can I just tell you, like, they gave me this recipe card. Like, I also got tomatoes and they gave me this recipe card and it was just so cool. Like, you should go, like, we should go together this Saturday, right? So then they go, she brings her friend, and now they are both excited. Or maybe she's been going for a while now, right? Maybe she's a CSA member. And then she meets another new mom and she's raving about the CSA. And she's like, hey, you need to go. They're doing this farm dinner at this local restaurant. Let's go together. This is where I get my CSA. Like, you'll love it. Well, now this new person gets to experience you in a different way. And then maybe they love that dinner. And then they come and start shopping with you, and they eventually become CSA members. This is how you really start the machine of people spreading the word for you. So you're not always having to start cold because other people are doing word of mouth advertising on your behalf.
Yeah. And especially when you pay attention to the first two things we said, which was the attract and convert, and get that messaging right and attract the right people, they're the ones that are going to become even better raving fans for your brand.
Yeah. And I will say too, when I started working for the farm, I actually started as just a regular customer. Most of our market crew started as customers. And then because they became raving fans, when we needed more workers, they were first in line. They were happy to do it because they didn't need full-time work. They just wanted some part-time work. They were already raving about the farm anyways. They might as well get paid for it while they're there, right? So it's a win-win.
Yeah, and they were fabulous workers because they already knew the product and how to talk to people about it, and were super excited.
Yeah. So to wrap it up, because I know that was a lot of stuff. So the proven 4-part system to grow your farmers market sales and cultivate a following of raving fans is our farmers market success system. And it's the 4 steps are attract, convert, build, and scale. And when you do those 4 things, you will absolutely increase the revenue for your farm business.
Yeah, and we had the challenge, and I'm not sure when we're going to run that next, but in our simple challenge, the 3-day challenge, we saw people doubling their sales, adding hundreds of dollars to the revenue just by following that. So stay in touch, and we've also got a freebie for them.
Yeah, so we have this really cool free ebook. This is quick. Like, you could just read through. I know that this, we covered a lot of stuff. So this is a real quickie. It's not going to take you forever. But it's 10 simple tips to boost your farmers market sales this week. So even if right now you're like, well, it's not our market season, even better, because you have time to actually absorb and take notes and think forward about these things. So go ahead and you're going to want to click the link and get that free ebook. And as Michael said, stay in our orbit. We will be in touch with you about when we're doing our challenge again. But this is stuff that, again, we just know. We have seen it for ourselves. We have seen it for our students. We've seen it for the other farms that Michael has consulted with and the other businesses that I've consulted with. This method just works. So I hope that you learned some new stuff. I hope you're excited to at least try the just so you know, for the promos. So keep that in the back of your mind. And absolutely, find me online and reach out if you have any questions. I'm always happy to help.
And Erika, you got a podcast too they should check out.
I do. So I also have the Sell It Sister podcast. So I was a guest on Michael's podcast, but I have my own. It comes out every Wednesday. It's called Sell It Sister. Even if you're a guy, you can listen. But it's all about simple sales and marketing techniques. Because yes, it's very cool that we have all these digital tools that we can use to advertise, like Facebook ads and whatnot. But we don't have to use them. We don't have to be overwhelmed in order to sell smarter and to market wisely. So there's a lot of different ways you can do that. I love chatting about them. I love making other people feel empowered in their businesses when it comes to sales and marketing. So definitely check that out because it's a cool free resource.
Yeah. Well, Erika, thank you so much for coming on today. This was fabulous. So you gave a big takeaway, which was use the just so you know and do a promo. What other two quick things do you think they could do? Let's say if they are doing farmers markets still this week to move their farm forward.
So I would say a couple things. I'm going to give them three. So one, have really good, clear signage. Put prices on everything.
Yes.
We see this a lot where people say, should I list my prices or not? Always, the answer is always list your prices, because if people have to ask, they won't, and you'll lose the sale. So good, really clear signage. Two, go vertical if you can, because people can't see the stuff in the back, especially if you have a lot of people in front of your table. So don't let that vertical space go to waste. And then also be up, be smiling, and just be engaging with people. Just say hi. Hey, how's it going? How's your day? Just warm them up. Let them feel comfortable with you. Not like, oh, hey, how are you? I'm so-and-so of such and such farm. Just so you know, there's this. Let me know. You know, you don't want to bombard them. Just like you would if you were at like a backyard barbecue and you're meeting new people and you're laid back and you're having a good time. That is how you want to be. Because when you put off that good, relaxed energy, people will feel like they can approach you. And when they approach you, then you can sell to them.
Absolutely. Well, that was fabulous takeaway. And again, thank you, Erika, so much for your time today. And yes, definitely check out Erika's podcast. Grab the free ebook below and join us for the challenge when we run it next. I'm not sure when it will be, but we'll have a button so you can at least sign up. And it's fabulous information.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.